Welcome, Jon Bon Jovi. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Karen. Good morning.
Good morning. So 2020, what a year. Unbelievable. It's like your baby is coming. It's due tomorrow, October 2nd, the album 2020. So much has happened this year. How did this all come about, and the concept of the album, if you could talk about that?
Yeah. 2020 is a year unlike any other that we've ever experienced. And in fact, if you really get down to the nitty gritty, it's been 100 years since there was something as strange as this pandemic. So if you would have said to you or I or our listeners today on New Year's Day, hey, guess what? In 3 months, the world's going to go upside down. And in 6 months from now, we're all going to walk around with these crazy masks on, and there's no release of the album. There's no tour. Bang. I would have either thought you were crazy or hired you to write a science fiction movie. But, but this happened. And so I watched the world adjust, my world and everyone's world. This is something that, unlike any other event, whether happy or sad, is something that the planet experienced together. 9/11 was something that affected the people that were in those cities. The rest of the folks, even in America, watched it on television and say, oh, I feel for those folks, but it wasn't their hometown.
Yep.
So you had situations that people can relate to, hurricanes and fires, but we watch them on television. This pandemic hit your home and mine. It didn't matter if you were from China or Australia or Italy or New Jersey.
It didn't make it crossed all barriers. And I'm actually talking to you. Usually I'm on the air in New York City. Usually you're supposed to be on the road right now on tour. And this is my house. I'm hoping my teenagers don't come in because they wake up really late. This is our offices, right?
Yeah. It's been an interesting time because we all had to sort of stop running on the treadmill. We all had to stop chasing things just for the sake of chasing them. I think that at least I was guilty of work, run. Where do I got to go? What do I got to do? How can I do it better? And the pandemic forced us all to reevaluate life and what that meant. So there's a new simplicity and complexity. For some, it's been a peaceful time. Others, granted, that have lost a loved one or lost a job. There's a lot of turmoil in it. But in another way, it's also helped us define that after we breathe in and breathe out, everything else is just we're lucky to have it.
Right? It did force everybody to just kind of stop and see what you're grateful for, see what really matters in life, right? Yeah. It just kind of made us all do that. And it's actually, COVID-19 affected your bandmates, it affected your son. Can you talk about that? That's,
Our keyboard player, David, who I've known since, he's played with me in bands since I was in high school.
Yeah.
Currently in quarantine because he is the co-writer of the Broadway musical based on Princess Diana called Diana. So although he would have preferred to have been here, he's in quarantine with the cast and the crew of the play that they're going to shoot that, and it's going to be on Netflix. But he, having lived through this, was very ill and could not have traveled to have done this. And he has said to me repeatedly since he's gotten better, he said, had this affected me, it could have been devastating. He says, because your lung capacity and what it takes for me to do what I do. He said he wanted to wrap me in bubble wrap because he really realized the depth of his sickness. And, at first he was one of the naysayers. He was one of those, it's a flu. I don't need that. Then he got hit. And when he called me up and he said, I've got it and it's bad. And then Everett Bradley, our touring percussionist, same thing. And, he's here because he sings so great and adds this great energy. Affected him terribly. my son Jake had it, but a mild case, thank the Lord, an intestinal kind of vision version of it. Lasted
Right.
3-4 days.
Right.
He's young and strong, and he got better. So I've seen it around me. I've seen people who've passed away. I've had people, you know, the first layer of the onion. I mean, I've lost 3 people that I know. So it's
Oh,
crazy
so sorry.
time. Yeah.
I know. I actually had it in March, and I don't want to say I had it bad. I was not hospitalized, but I'm so glad you didn't get it, because you literally can't breathe. I'd be on the radio talking for 30 seconds and going, you know, like, just stay in your bubble wrap, please. But you're not. You're actually out there doing so much good. And it's kind of funny. I think you call yourself the last to join social media, Jon, but you are really good at connecting with your fans, and you have been amazing during this time. You don't look like the reluctant social media guy, because your 1-minute record reviews are hysterical. You're so funny with your family and your son. And do you like social media anymore now?
No. Well, the thing about having everybody in the bubble was that my kids were there, and they're the ones that know how to do all of this. And so that was really why. And I mean, and you know, I was bored because they made me do a TikTok dance.
You did do TikTok?
I did 2 TikToks. So, I mean, come on. These are not things that I would have ever considered doing. But the kids had me doing it. And so, you know, you know what I say, though? I was sending you all subliminal signals. I was sending out sign language that said, help me. Help me.
You did it too good. It's like the World TV show. I can't wait for the next one, you know? You're great at it. But that was a way to stay connected with your fans, especially with Do What You Can and Limitless, and like putting the lyrics in. And it was almost like, whose line is it anyway? You're just singing, and you're singing. That was amazing. Did that feel good to connect with your fans like that?
Yeah. And again, because it came so naturally, it wasn't, you know, some genius plan that I had, or, you know, the record company said you should do. The record was finished. The record was turned in. It was mastered, done. COVID hits, and if you're going to write a record called 2020, and it's meant to be a topical record, how can you not address COVID? Well,
Right.
What happened was I was washing dishes at the Soul Kitchen very early on, at the beginning of March. And Dorothea took a picture of me to remind our in need that the place was still open, and that if you needed a meal, we were here for you. But that's a position that has been filled by volunteers, and that's how our model works. And so now here I was back washing dishes because we couldn't let volunteers in.
Right.
When she posted that picture, she said, what should the caption be? Really what she was asking me is, you know, what are the hours? How are we going to run the kitchen? And I did what I do. And I said, if you can't do it, you do what you can. The next day I went, it's a song title. And so I wrote the song. And when I wrote it, then I realized, like I'd said, we had all been in this together. And so anyone and everyone could write their own verse. And I shared the idea through the internet. And the kinds of responses were all very good. But I could interact with a kindergarten class in Florida, or people in, you know, in Europe or in Asia. And I was able to take their verse, sing it, record it, send it back. So it was a lot of fun. And now that the song is out and it's doing so well, it just goes to show you, when you have something like that and it touches that nerve with people about their lives, that's when the magic happens. So obviously the song made the record.
Yes. And you know, it was very comforting, especially not only because we're fellow Jerseyans, but also just for all fans to know that you get it, you're feeling it. How can we come together? How can we do this? It's unprecedented. I mean, one of the things that you must have actually experienced as well with your son getting sick is, like, the doctors didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah,
you couldn't even
get tested, right? You couldn't get tested. What did they tell you? Drink a lot of liquids. You know, there wasn't much. Yeah, there wasn't much they could tell you.
Right. And so it was a really scary time. So even though the record was done, like that was very comforting and very, very, very cool to hear from you, and seeing you on the concert for New Jersey and doing what you can, and you and Dorothea out there and being around people, which is still really scary, but just to make sure other people got fed. And, you know, the JBJ Soul Foundation is incredible what the two of you do together. And I just want to say, you know, not only for the state, and you're opening more and more.
Yeah, we have 3 in New Jersey, in Red Bank, where I literally was there 5 days a week for the first 2 months. And the only reason that I stopped going after the couple of months was that we realized on Long Island, where we would get to spend our summers, that the need for a food bank was desperate. And so we knew how to do it. And we found a place that was closed down, a family entertainment complex. And the landlord, the owner, was so kind. He said, I can't have summer camps here. So yes, you can have the space. We've provided the food. And here's a great example of my smashed finger with because we work at the food bank at least 3 days a week since May. And we're feeding 7 pantries, which then the 7 pantries feed the people. And so we're feeding, I think it's 6,000 people a month on Long Island. And then we've got the kitchens in New Jersey. So we've been very busy in this time.
Admirable and honorable work. And you know, that was, even when I was home, I would see even our communities just, you know, who can you help, or how can you get out, and how can you do? So it was hard. And I was just wondering, like, for me, being in quarantine with your family, I had to stay away from my kids for 2 weeks, which is like basically go up into a room and hide, and 1 bathroom. How did you do that with your son? I mean, that must have been really tough.
Well, because it was so early on, this was probably the 3rd week of March.
Yes.
It's almost a little bit of humor to it, because we were aware of quarantine, but there wasn't a lot of detail yet. And so I remember Dorothea puts him in his room. That was like, you know, the quarantined area. And then being the mom, you know, she'd go in there, but mask, like a hairnet kind of version of a shower, one specific robe backwards that looked like the OR that she'd tie up. And, you know, when he'd get sick, we'd take that bag out, tie it up, put it in another bag, tie that up to put it into a garbage can. So it was like, you know, it was some kind of radioactive material.
It was.
And, you know, you felt so bad because it's one of your kids, and it's, you know, we crossed the line. You know, we went in the room because it just as parents, like, I had to do what I had to do. But
of course,
I wouldn't not go in there. But fortunately, like I said, for us, 3-4 days later, it passed, and then he was okay. And the rest of us, we were blessed we didn't get sick in the house.
Good. Thank God. Right?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that little story. I mean, because I know so many families who had to do it, so it's kind of cool to hear, you know, how it worked out. So glad everyone's healthy. So I have a question for you. How the hell did you get through 30 years being a rock star without a scandal? You're like the Derek Jeter of rock and roll. I mean, no scandals, no bad stories. You're a family man. Your family is gorgeous. You held it together. Like, how the hell did you do that?
There's no big secret, and I'll gladly accept the mantle and thank you for that. But I'm not the only one. You know, I mean, Bono's been married as long. Bruce is married almost as long. But, you know, I got it right the first time, and I have no qualms with that. I could only trade down, and I hold on to her with both hands at all times, because I would never want to screw that up.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I got a great family. They're healthy. They're wonderful. It's the joy of my life, and this is just what I do. You know, it's not who I necessarily am. It's what I do, and I do it really well. But the rest of it is who I am.
I was watching your Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech, and you went through the years. What a great storytelling moment that was for the entire band. And you just talked about all these things that happened. And I have to tell you, you know, I went to Monmouth College down in West Long Branch, and seen you a million times, but it was 1991, 1992. And I walked into the fast lane and I knew you were there. And I think you were by yourself. I don't think you were with your band. And all of a sudden your hair was gone. It was cut off, that big, beautiful Bon Jovi hair, how we were first introduced to you. And then you started singing songs that were from the 60s and the 70s, like rock and roll songs. And I went, this guy is going to be huge. I mean, it went from, you're not just in, you had Slippery When Wet, but it was like, this guy is dead serious and he is blowing me away right now. People were actually trying to mosh to like some 60s songs, but it was really funny. But that's when I knew this guy's going to go through every genre there is. He's not giving up. He is just the real deal. I mean, and you've managed to do that for 30 years. How the hell did you do that?
Well, I cut my teeth in that club. That was the place where I cut my teeth. By the time 1980, I realized I had to stop playing other people's music and write my own, because that was the only path to real success. But the fast lane was a great avenue for that because they encouraged original music. And that was at a time in New Jersey when cover bands were making real money. But even as a young kid just graduating high school, I don't know, somehow I had the vision to say, it's not about a buck, it's about talking to you in nearly 40 years from then and being me, which is pretty rarefied air, to be up here now. So it's, I had a vision, I stuck to it, I work hard at it. I didn't chase fads or fashions. I didn't pretend to be something I'm not. I'm not sitting here dyeing my hair blonde and painting my fingernails black. And
no, you're embracing the gray. It looks amazing.
I'm who I am. I grew up in public, and people have been along for that ride, whether they got on it and got off of it or got on it in the latter years. But the journey has been what it is, and it's been incredible to be able to sit here and talk about it currently now. I'm not on some where are they now pile. We're still one of the
no. See, I knew that was going to happen the day I saw you cut your hair. I just want to get back to your family for a minute, because one of the other things you talked about, I'm just blown away by your speech. I watch it a lot. And you said that you went through a really tough time where you had to seek professional and spiritual help. But you quoted your wife, Dorothea, as saying adversity is the greatest teacher.
Yeah.
And that moment just got my heart. I mean, it sounds like she's your spiritual guru and a little.
Oh yeah. She's a very, very integral part of that. Absolutely. Yeah, she's very Zen, but she came from a background in the martial arts and Eastern philosophies, and so she knew all that innately. And I have lead singer's disease. Me.
I have that with the radio too, so don't worry. Not about me.
Me. And so she had, so she keeps me, a little more grounded. And, but this roller coaster of a career, there's been ups and downs when trends come and go. Okay, that's fine. That's for rookies. But when life goes and deals you blows that you never expected, and you're doing it in the public eye, you have two choices: you crumble or you get tough. And so adversity is not something I looked forward to embracing. And all that nonsense that people tell you, oh, the light at the end of the tunnel. Screw the light at the end of the tunnel. I want to be wearing sunglasses out in the sunshine. That tunnel was dark for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't like the darkness. I've been there. I've done that. I suffered that son of a gun. I don't want to hear from it again. So, but in truth, it makes you stronger. And without adversity, what would you have to learn from? Where would you get challenges? And so I got through it.
And you wrote some great songs, and you have a brand new baby due tomorrow, October 2nd, 2020. And we're so excited.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite song that you love talking about or singing the most?
Every record, every time you put out a record, that's the best one you've ever made. So it'll take a year or two to objectively look at an album. And because of COVID, again, you know, I wouldn't have done that otherwise. So those little jokey 1-minute record reviews, it's not like I sit around and play my catalog ever. I don't sit around the house playing the old albums and making the kids listen to them. And when I listen to any of those records, there's some songs that I don't like now. So with this album right now, I love every song, but it's because they're fresh.
It's like a new baby. You have to love every song.
Well, you have to love the baby, even if you know.
Even if it's an ugly baby. No, I'm kidding. So what songs do you hate right now?
I don't think there was a thing about, oh, I hate it, but unless I'd had those song lists in front of me. There were songs on those records that I'd reviewed that I thought, you know, I was either trying to jump on something that wasn't original, or I'd said that before. And then there was other songs, and I can't remember the titles, or I would tell you, that I remember thinking, I hated that song on the last record when we released it. And then I thought better of it 2 years later. So that's happened. But the great thing about 2020 and the COVID again was I know that there was 2 songs on this record that, although they were really great, I took them off. And I know that I wrote better with Do What You Can and American Reckoning. And so it made this album better.
Yeah.
I'm really, really proud of this album. I have no idea how it's going to be received because it's heavy.
This is a heavy year. This is what everybody's going through. So
I'm not writing K-pop. It's not. I wouldn't want to.
We wouldn't want
to. God bless them, but it's not for me. It's not who I am.
Right. Well, we love who you are. Stay who you are. Stay true. That's one of the things we love about you most. You have a gorgeous family. It's really fun to see you with your son and Hampton Water. And you actually made rosé, like, cool. And I have to say, I don't know, Jon. I saw the rosé pong. I think you got a little help.
I didn't get any help, and I don't want to hear that my shoulders were leaning over the table. First of all, I didn't go to college, so I didn't spend my youth bouncing a ping pong ball into the glass. I would just buy another glass and drink it. So hell with those kids. I won fair and square. I don't want to hear from him.
I had to bust your chops. I bet you play flip cup too. I bet you're good at that.
The wine business is so much. It's really fun because to be in business with one of your kids is not anything I'd ever thought of. It's not like I expected them to follow in my footsteps or anything like that.
Sure.
But Jesse came out with this concept to me and presented it and utilized his college degree to come back with a business plan. And he and his roommate developed this. And Hampton Water is the most celebrated rosé of the last 5 years and doing phenomenally well. So I'm glad that he got in the wine business instead of the tube sock business because I appreciate the samples that I get.
Yeah, that's a whole lot better than tube socks. Well, it's a lot of fun to watch you guys work together, and I think your family's gorgeous, and I think everything you do for the state of New Jersey and everybody in general is just amazing, and so proud that I'm from Jersey because of you. And
thank you, Karen.
It took me 20 years to get an interview with you on the radio. So I'm like, what? So I am a fangirl. I was watching you in the Fast Lane a long time ago, and we're so excited about 2020.
Me too. Thank you very much for this interview. It was wonderful.
Thanks, Jon.
My pleasure. All right. Have a great day, y'all.
Stay safe. I hope your family's well.
Thank you, baby. Have a great day.
You too.